looking for.
Well, good evening. This is June 6th, and it's Traffic and Safety Commission's meeting, and we'll start with roll call.
Excuse me, Cuthbertson,
Yes.
Flashcamp,
Here.
McMurray,
Here.
Carl Timmerman,
Here.
Karen Timmerman,
Here.
Wagner,
Here.
Chairman Pinkos.
Here.
Yes.
Moving on, amendments to the agenda. Any comments on that? Excuse me. Okay, hearing no amendments, we're going to move on to public comments to agenda items. And at the moment, we have nobody here in the public to comment. And moves us on to public comments on non-agenda items. And we have also, again, nobody here to make any comments. So we're going to move right on into presentations, which brings us to the report on bike pedestrian and transit subcommittee. Bob.
Thank you, Chairman Pinkos. I'll just be brief. Our last meeting was on May 25th. We do have a new member on our subcommittee, Alan Leishman, who is actually, he's a newly appointed member of the Environmental Concerns Commission. He was also appointed to the Bike Pedestrian and Transit Subcommittee. A lot of our agenda items, as you'll see, are pretty much the same. We were hoping to do something bike walk to school day, which is, it was typically in May, but there was no time to plan that, so we're hoping to do that next year. Bicycle-friendly community application still on our agenda. We are going to divide that up since multiple people can work on the application. And then once we've gotten as far as we can go, we're going to turn it over to staff for the really hard work. I updated the subcommittee on we noted that the Villa Avenue Improvement Project will have another meeting held by Civil Tech. Is that right, Kevin?
There will be another public information meeting at a future date to be determined.
Gotcha, okay. Talked about Operation Lifesaver, Metro Station access. I updated the subcommittee on the information that Kevin had provided about the Tri-Trail Connector. It was noted that there was a stakeholders meeting held on May 31st with CDM Smith, and two of us attended that. No further information on walk-friendly community application. We did hold our ride of silence. This is the first one in Villa Park. We got a nice escort from Officer Tim Walsh. And a couple other things. We primarily during the month of May, we held, with Ride Illinois, we held 6 bike safety classes at District 45 at all 6 elementary schools. We kind of partnered with CERT, something that Sergeant Landa had put together, bike registration, which was last Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. We registered almost 25 bikes along the Prairie Path, so we helped with that, and received a mini stipend from Active Transportation Alliance, and we're going to be doing a kind of a bike walk to Metro event, actually tomorrow and Thursday. So, and that's about it. That concludes my report.
Sounds good.
So I have one very quick question for Commissioner Wagner. Have the numbers on the Bike and Ped subcommittee changed then, or has somebody been replaced?
No, there's 4 people.
There's 4 members now.
4 people, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, let's move on to Approval of the minutes for May 2nd. However, we don't have them here.
I do apologize for that, but we will have them at the next meeting, along with the draft minutes for this meeting, for the commission's review.
Okay. There was a little technical IT problem in reference to it, so that's our reasoning behind that. Moving on to old business, item 893, parking restrictions and striping on South Villa Avenue, north of Madison Street. Comments on that?
Yes, so within the commission's packet, under item 8A, you'll find a draft ordinance along with a location map depicting what staff is proposing to change. The existing parking restrictions are noted in red, along with the call out to the particular language in the municipal code that references those. And staff is proposing, in response to the commission's discussion, in response to the public comments that were raised, to prohibit parking on the west side of Villa Avenue from Madison Street to a point 280 feet north of the right-of-way line. You'll notice in the map that it takes it to the north limit of the right turn lane queue, and then a little bit further to make sure that parking is further restricted in the driveway that falls at that point. So we would like to seek the commission's discussion and possible recommendation on this proposed ordinance.
Commissioners, any comments?
May I ask a question?
You may.
Why 280 feet? I wasn't here last month, so I was,
The concerns were that parking is technically permitted all the way from Madison up to Washington on the west side. Well, actually further than Washington, but from Madison north on the west side of Villa Avenue. That means that parking is technically permitted within the right turn lane queue, approaching Madison Street for southbound Villa Avenue traffic. So it was discussed amongst the commission and discussed amongst staff that it would make sense to prohibit parking in the entirety of that west side right turn lane queue. And again, the additional, I think it's roughly 30 feet, is to simply ordinance no parking in the driveway that falls at the location where the right turn lane queue starts.
okay, thank you.
I have a question. So is there like a sign that says there's no parking here, or would they just have to move the sign back, or what would be the implications?
There are no signs as of now. Currently, parking is, again, technically permitted by ordinance all the way from Madison up north. So there would be a need for new signage, probably a sign that says no parking with a left arrow at the start of it, and then several, possibly 1 to 2 signs in the space between where it starts and Madison Street intersection.
Okay.
Chairman?
Yes, Bob.
I'd like to make a motion so that we get that on the floor for this ordinance to restrict the parking 280 feet north of the north right-of-way line extended on Madison Street on the west side, on Villa Avenue, per the ordinance, per the proposed ordinance.
With the additional signs?
Pardon me?
Would it be with the additional signs? Do we have to state that in the ordinance?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
And I believe the copy of the ordinance that you were looking at to be approved is before that.
It is, and to answer the question that was just raised, there is language in the ordinance, it's fairly standard, that says, the village manager is hereby directed to instruct the Public Works Department to install the appropriate signage as required by the provisions of the ordinance. So the signage comes as a package deal with the larger code change.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Perfect. Okay, that sounds good. Will I have to write anything, or?
I don't think so.
I think we're good with.
We've gotten to the routine of just stating in the memo that the Traffic and Safety Commission reviewed it, made a formal motion and a formal vote on the recommendation.
Sounds good. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 894, striping and signage for crosswalk at Jackson and Leslie Avenue, or Leslie Lane.
And I can report that staff is still working on this. I'm sorry it's taken a little bit longer than the commission would probably prefer, but we are moving forward with this, and we'll get this done as soon as we can.
Are you planning to do this with your striping program for the year, or?
No.
you gonna Do it in-house?
Most likely in-house. The signage is certainly in-house, and the striping, we may or may not do it with the annual striping program, but certainly we can go back and refresh the striping that is already there.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, moving on to item number 895, Addison Road and Vermont Street intersection.
This one is also still in the works. One thing I can report, though, to the commission is that staff proposes to slightly change what we had represented last time. Previously, I had mentioned that staff was proposing to put in some additional stop signs on the opposite sides of the street, but that they would be conventional stop signs. We are now instead, staff that is leaning towards flashing stop signs, double flashing stop signs on the approaches for both northbound and southbound Addison Road traffic.
So you're going to have double flashing signs on both, so it'll be on the east side and on the west side?
That is correct. Yep, so that northbound and southbound traffic on Addison Road approaching the Vermont intersection would have, yes, double flashing stop signs on either side of the street. At that point, there'd be no excuse for not seeing them, short of, as we talked at our previous meeting, distraction altogether.
And at the moment, we have now existing flashing stop signs there.
There is one existing flashing stop sign in the conventional location for each approach.
I thought there was two. Looked like when I went past there one night.
Perhaps I'm wrong about that then.
And that's what I thought you guys did, other than putting the other double stop signs on east and west side of the streets. So,
Let me check here. No, I don't believe so. We only have one stop sign on each approach.
Isn't that the one we just put out, or recommended like a year or so ago? Was that where the tree was?
No, that was Elm Street. That
was-
was the
okay.
intersection on the south side of the UP Railroad.
Elm Street is a little bit further.
Yeah.
So,
And then following up on that plan, I can report also that those flashing stop signs were ordered and I believe were just delivered to us within the last week or so. So the plan is to get those up as soon as possible.
sounds good.
That is.
All right, so we'll just leave that on until next meeting. Let's move on to item number 896, local truck route expiration. And I believe that was over there by, what did we call that location?
Well, it's the current, the Wildwood.
Wildwood.
Area.
Yeah.
And there is a map on page 6 of that item packet.
And that has now been permanent, set up as it's not going to expire again. It's a permanent detour or truck route.
Correct.
And
The
signage.
village- Yep, the village board adopted an ordinance without the previously adopted sunset clause, so it is now permanently codified.
And with that, does that refresh my memory, but I don't believe, did we put up the truck route signs?
Yes.
We had, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds good. All right. With that, do we have a motion to remove this item from our,
Motion so made.
I'll second.
Second.
did you catch them?
You gotta call it.
Yeah, whatever you want. Carl can have it.
We'll have Carl. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I think Karen originally first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Karen and then
Karen was
Carl.
first,
And then Carl.
second.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, passed. Okay, item number 897, on-street accessible parking. That's in reference to the handicap parking permanently on that street. Am I understanding that correctly again?
Well, the question of permanently or not was one of the things that the commission was asking to, or being asked to weigh in on. If you'll recall, there had been some questions and some concerns voiced at the last meeting. I did reach back out to the resident requesting the signage, and there's a response email in your packet on page 2 behind that item.
My question, I guess, is did anybody from Public Works or Engineering go out and take a look at the site and physically observe what really?
We did. I guess I would say we didn't, I'll be honest, we didn't see that there is a, I apologize, I want to read the actual language here. Does not have sidewalk access to the front of the unit. We were confused as to the statement that was made there.
So I have a question.
Okay.
But isn't that a bike lane on that side of the street where she's requesting the,
Yes, it is.
because I think it's on the other side. And it's on the north side?
Yeah, there's Cheryl's, it's not technically a bike lane.
Oh, it's not, because I
It's
thought
got the markings
It's got a
on,
marking
for the bike lane on the
Yeah.
pavement.
Okay.
It's a share.
But still, I mean, if you have a car parked there,
Yeah, but then if you put a parking spot there that's designated, now you're blocking the,
then there's no sidewalk from the street to the sidewalk.
I've been by
On the
there a few
parkway.
times. I stopped there
There-
on my way to the meeting
That's
tonight
correct.
and
That's
look at
correct.
it again.
So where is her parking
In the rear of the building.
and where is her apartment?
Believe she is in the front unit here.
No, she's the one with the gray roof on the one right on the corner, it's the second one in.
Correct. Second one.
Right, there's a two-car garage, there's 4 parking spaces, and there's enough for 4 to 5 more cars down that driveway in the back of their building.
And she says there's no way for her to get where? I'm sorry?
It says the garage off of Fulton does not have sidewalk access to the front of the unit.
Which unit number, which unit?
Again, we believe she was in 217. Let me refer back to the previous
That's right.
email here.
Isn't that part of the?
Actually, I apologize. She
the
says she's at
Landlord's
215,
responsibility?
which according to our records is in the middle of the unit.
The one on the red then. Because I think it's 17 and 19 is the one with the dark roof.
I believe it's 15 and 17 are the one with the gray roof.
I think it's the gray roof.
Okay, but if we end, well,
It's off Gerard, right?
looks like there, from what I'm looking at, it looks like there's a sidewalk going to the, from the back parking lot to her unit.
On both
Did
of those
anybody-
units, yes. You can
Okay.
see that from the satellite photo.
'Cause
It looked like
it
private
was-
property, I didn't want to go walking up back in there.
217, 215.
And she's at-
So, and then the other thing I'm thinking of is, if we do put a handicap parking, space out there on the street, that, we really can't have that overnight permanently, can we?
That was another question that came up at the last meeting, was if something were to be approved, a reserved handicap parking space of some sort, would it be subject to the no overnight parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.? And I believe this area is also governed by the no parking Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m.
That is correct.
Exactly, because of the train.
Yes. So that was some of the questions that were discussed by the commission at the last meeting.
Also, there's no accessibility from the sidewalk to the curb of any kind
That is also
whatsoever
true.
without going to the neighbor's driveway. There's no recess in any of the curbing, there's no, unless you went to the corner sidewalk, you've got no accessibility. I don't know what the handicap circumstance is.
Bob?
I was riding through Westchester, and I did notice that they have, and I went to their website, and I couldn't find an application, but it's like a timed access. It's not overnight, but in front of a residence, they allow certain parking for a person with a placard living at a house. So not overnight, but, during the day, reserve parking. I went to their website, I couldn't find an application, but I'm 99% it was in Westchester.
And the limitation of parking between, was it 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.?
Correct.
And that is there for,
That's to prevent people from parking on the street and then using the metro train. Basically to prevent that parking being taken up by commuters, train commuters, rather than residents and people who live there.
So I'm sorry, which unit is she in?
She's in called the northern unit, the one
So
closer
here?
to Vermont Street, correct.
So she has access from here to go into her,
I'll be honest, I don't know maybe we didn't go on the private property, we're only
Right,
looking at
yeah,
it
I
from
know.
the street. Perhaps there's issues with tripping on the sidewalk, trip hazards, we're not sure.
If you look at the new modern one, there's one that's actually got a striped section for somebody to come
Yeah.
off the sidewalk into the parking lot. If you look on the newer satellite, I think I had
Imagery
it
right
up a
here.
little bit ago. Yeah, there's 4
There is a
parking
stripe right
spaces, a
here.
2-car garage, and there's enough room for 4 to 5 cars in that driveway in the back of the building. And I know that somebody had brought up about the Chicago parking. One of their prerequisites is the applicant may not have access to off-street parking is one of the
Criteria.
Criteria?
they call for it.
Criterias?
Or it's one of the criterias for it, one of the prerequisites for it. So and that looks and appears to have ample parking in the back.
so just curious, would the landlord have any responsibility for that? Just curious,
don't
based
know.
on ADA?
The
Technically,
American with
ADA
Disabilities Act doesn't apply to private persons, only to a limited extent. So they're not necessarily required to have full-blown ADA access at this building.
But, so since she's a private person, but that person is a landlord, so that's.
But they're
public-
still a private
doesn't matter.
party, they're still not
Got it.
governed by that law. I mean, suggestion would be to have her talk to the landlord. That would be her best bet, to see if she could get a spot as close in the back as practical.
Right.
well, at the moment, I have still a big question mark in reference to accepting to do that and set precedents in our village at the moment. As far as I can see from the Google map, and I have to apologize, I did not get out there to see it since we've talked about it, unfortunately. But I'm definitely, if she can park out there between 7 and 9 by chance, I think that would also have other cars possibly parking there too. And then starting to create a domino effect in reference to parking. And we're trying to deter the commuter parkers from using that area. So, as far as I'm concerned at the moment, I'd like to keep it on and have further discussions. And I would like to possibly have a personal interview with the lady and see, because I'm just going to ask another thing, since it's on public property and we create a handicap parking spot, is the village now required to construct the handicap walkway to get to the public walk?
I don't know for certain, but I would think we certainly could be subject to that requirement.
Yes, Bob?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think we need more further investigation, because rather than just trying to design something for one person, this may be a policy that we may want to suggest to the village board. There may be other people in the village who maybe they need closer access to, I don't know, I can think of a situation, someone who lives on a corner lot and maybe needs access for someone who has difficulty, gets around with a walker or something like that. So, yeah, I think we need more study on this, and maybe, I don't know if it's possible for our public information officer to see if there's any other interest in this issue, other residents.
I can't answer that question, but who has another question?
I do.
You're not raising your hand.
I'm
high
sorry.
enough. Yes, there you go.
So, back in school. So I understand the need possibly for something like this, but it's also, I think we need to probably, you asked for an interview with the resident. I think we also need to understand if she's chatted with her landlord as well, since this is something that she is possibly renting and not necessarily owning at this point. So we need to see if he's made any accommodations, if she's asked for any accommodations from him or whoever the landlord may be, to see what we can do, because I do think, to Bob's point, there may be others or whatever, but we also don't want to set a precedent that we can be moving forward where we're doing this almost in front of every house, because I could probably put my mother in front of this and say, hey, there are all these trucks parked in front of her house. She needs access to her driveway, but she's not getting it. I mean, there could be many challenges by setting a precedent in this issue. So I think we need more investigation.
I totally agree. I mean, the other situation is what was when she ended up, if this is a rental scenario, she decided to pick this spot versus other spots. So there's a lot that I think we need to investigate and follow through with. And like I said, I don't want to set a precedence also then for the rest of the village for something. So
Right.
I think we need to take a closer look at it. Carl?
I agree. One of the things I'm thinking about this being it is a rental property and that tends to be transient. For instance, years ago, we put up a blind child sign. The child recovered her sight, but the signs were still there. Now, would we have to be eliminating these spaces over, who knows how often? If we consider this, I mean, I agree we should investigate, but then we have to consider other possibilities of issues that we would have to contend with.
I think that's a great point that I didn't even think of. And
I think, just to touch on that, the City of Chicago paperwork, and I'm sure some of the other programs that have been raised, have annual renewal requirements in them.
Okay.
Where there's actually an application, or at least a statement that needs to be submitted along with a fee, basically acknowledging that they're still there and still need the space. So if this is something that the commission at some point decides to move forward with, I think there's discussion to be had on that aspect of it as well.
Well, I mean, another good point in reference to it, but, because let's just say she does move out of that location, so the village has to go over there, remove the signs, remove the, does that mean that we would have to have some type of symbol in the street, as they do like in parking lots?
Painted
Chicago does
handicap
have-
sign.
Handicap signs or,
It's a $70 fee to that person with a handicap, and there's a $25 maintenance fee annually. So if they don't pay the maintenance fee, they'd be,
Good points.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
you said I had to raise higher.
I saw it that time.
So I was just also curious of the fact that it is a bike lane too. I mean, it's a shared bike lane, but still, it's still part of our bike lane. And then you're having to go around a car, which also impedes going back into the lane, with other cars following you,
You have a
especially that's if they're away to go to the train station. So,
To catch 22. So,
So-
definitely, a lot of good questions being brought up, and I think we need to look into it, and let's take another month and see if we can, I don't know. Yes, Bob?
We may want to even ask our Senior Concerns Commission. They may know if, it's made up of seniors. They may know if this is something that other people in the community are looking at as well. We could ask Hosanna to look into it. Just a thought.
Okay. However, we still need to know
We need more.
what's
Right.
going on with this
Right.
situation here. And there seems to be a lot of other work once we approve it, if we approve it, the situation is then what do we come up with? Do we bring up the limits of how they go about doing this? Or is that a village board situation at that point?
Well, I would say certainly this is going to require board action at some point, because there's almost certainly going to be a need for an actual ordinance change in the code to affect these marked handicap parking spaces. Okay.
Question. Now, if we did approve that in order to put a handicap parking spot, would, as far as making it accessible, as far as the curb, piece of sidewalk to go through the parkway, would that be a fee that would, or a charge that would go back to that person to pay for that, or?
Speaking, well, I guess without speaking as to someone's financial status, I'd say that's probably cost prohibitive for anybody who would be requesting it. I mean, my mind
I just see in Chicago, they're charging for these items, so I'm just wondering if the landlord or any kind of financial participation from the person requesting it in landlord and the village, would that be broken up into?
I guess I'm unclear on the Chicago information as to whether, I know they say sign installation and maintenance costs must be paid. The cost, though, to actually improve a parking space to become ADA accessible we're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Easily.
Like I say, I'm just picturing that because that parkway is nowhere near accessibility.
So, yes, I think we should just look into this a little bit further, get some answers to our questions, and proceed on. I mean, we just don't have enough information to get a legitimate answer to this at the moment. So. Any other comments, statements? Nope. Okay. So we'll look into that a little bit more. I also am interested, if you can, Kevin, find out if we get stuck with the ADA requirements.
I will look into that.
It's also a way of getting a larger satellite video or a picture of the back of the house too.
I think it might not be a bad idea. With the remaining questions, staff can reach out to her and ask for permission to go on the property and take photos. Typically, we wouldn't do that without permission, but given the concerns here, I think it's reasonable to ask.
Sounds good.
Great.
And she doesn't own the property.
I'll be honest, I don't know. I know that's been stated here tonight, but I wasn't about to comment on that because I don't know for sure either way.
Okay.
As we investigate this, and maybe we designate one person from the commission to contact her, maybe ask her some questions, instead of like, in the past, we'll all go talk to people off and on. Any thoughts on that? I mean, other than staff, like someone ourselves? One of us?
I nominate Carl.
Carl, are you volunteering for this?
Well, I can only really do it on Saturdays and Sundays, but,
I mean,
I mean, I'd be willing to do it. I just don't want to bother her with, like, say he decides to go one day and I decide to go the next day, to ask her a few
Well,
questions.
I mean, totally understandable, and I agree with it.
I'm volunteering unless someone else would rather do it.
Nope, Carl?
Okay. I'll see what I can do, get out of there on Saturday. Do we have any other contact information for this person?
I do. I can provide that.
Okay.
We just, as a matter of practice, don't put that in the board packet, or the commission.
That makes sense.
All right. So, okay. With that, we're going to move on to new business. And we have no new businesses, unless somebody else is going to bring something up at the moment.
Oh, I save it for comments.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to move right on to commissioners' comments. Carl.
Starting with me? No, I don't have
We're going
any.
to start with that.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Carl?
I will not be able to attend next month's meeting. No, wait a minute. Did we decide on a date? A replacement date? I
It will
forgot.
be July 11th. yeah.
July 11th?
Tuesday,
Okay.
July 11th, 1 week later than normal.
Okay, I should be able to make that then. Otherwise, then I have nothing.
Jeff?
No, I do not have anything.
Vicki?
Me? Just let you guys know that tomorrow is the 60th anniversary at Portillo's on North Avenue. They're going to have the original doghouse there. So if you're looking for dinner or something, please make sure you make your way over to that and
Are they
support.
having a special?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Now it's corporate.
But the doghouse will be there, didn't you? I've ordered hot dogs from the doghouse.
There are places
That's saying how
that
old
they're
I am.
having the doghouse show up at. and
They've been
they're
doing it a
Off and
while.
on.
Yeah.
Is that the actual anniversary day?
It's the,
You would
yeah,
know.
it's the 60th anniversary, so they've been doing a whole road show, and tomorrow's the last day, and it will be in Villa Park, the original location.
Excellent.
So head on over there and get dinner
On North Avenue, right?
on North Avenue, yes. So have fun, that's all I had. See you next month.
Bob?
I just want to thank staff for inviting, Jay and I attended the CDM Smith presentation about the rail grade separation feasibility study. They looked at 4 areas: Villa Avenue, Ardmore, Addison, and potentially Westmore. And I think I'm saying this correct, that we kind of narrowed it down to Ardmore and Addison Road. And Ardmore was probably preferred, since there's already a bridge over the Canadian National Railroad there. And they were pleased with, they had 130 responses to the survey.
And it actually underrepresented, they actually had more like 160. But as of the time that the presentation was put together, it was a little bit more.
So it was still open.
Yes,
Okay,
so
gotcha.
considerable interest. We were
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised to see just how many people were interested in providing response.
Right, and they presented kind of a relative cost for underpass, overpass. So it was really interesting, and looking forward to getting more information. The Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee will have a bike contingent in the VFW 4th of July Parade. So if anyone's interested, let us know. And just a question, I'm sure there's hundreds of people watching this meeting. If they wanted to reach out to the commission, is trafficandsafety@invillapark.com, is that still a good email for residents to contact the commission through?
I believe so. Let me just confirm that real quick. Don't want to misspeak. Yes, traffic and safety, AND, spelled out. So TRAFFIC, AND, SAFETY @invillapark.com.
And that's all I got.
Thank you. Karen?
Nothing much.
That sounds good. Okay. Basically, Bob, you took my comments.
Oh, sorry.
But that's all right, as long as they got out there. The other thing is, make note that our next regular traffic and safety meeting should have been on Tuesday, July 4th. And obviously, that being a national holiday, we have decided to postpone that 1 week to the following Tuesday, which is July 11th. So that'll be our next meeting. Other than that, everybody have a fun and safe 4th of July. And we'll see you on July 11th. Oh, wait. Wait, I forgot Kevin. Kevin.
Kevin?
Oh, Kevin's got stuff.
Only thing I've got, if the commission will remember, the Union Pacific Railroad reached out to schedule a closure of the railroad crossing at Villa Avenue. I want to say at least 3 times last year before canceling that. They have now scheduled that work to start the day after the 4th of July. So for that closure to begin in the morning of Wednesday, July 5th, and extend for roughly a week and a half through the following Friday, July 14th. As of right now, that still stands. We'll be getting public notice out, the village that is, to traveling public, residents, businesses, bus companies, etc., as we get closer to that date. Good news there is this one falls outside of the normal school year at least. So hopefully minimal impact to at least
From the 5th
the
until the 15th?
5th to the 14th, correct. So beyond that, only other thing I've got is, as Jay said, happy 4th of July and celebrate safely. We'll see everyone in about 5 weeks.
I'm going to backtrack real quickly here because you made me think about a railroad crossing, and I'm going right up to Addison Road and the Canadian Pacific. And I noticed that we obviously have taken care of the huge difference in pavement. We wouldn't even want to say the bumps at the railroad crossing. We got the northbound pretty much taken care of, but we are stuck because we can't go on the southbound because of a certain reason.
Well, it's, yeah, just considerably more coordination needed to make that happen.
Is that?
It is still moving forward, it's just unfortunately not at the same pace as the other direction of this.
Because I noticed that you're starting to get a good pothole on the one.
We are. So we've been in touch with the railroad. We'll continue to push for that to continue moving forward.
You just made me think of that, because I just went across that a couple weeks ago and I forgot all about it, and
Gotcha.
it's definitely a speed bump. So, okay. All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn this? Bob is,
I'll defer to Vicky.
Okay, I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Last
okay.
camp first, Wagner.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to do that.